a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, a 7, a 8, a 9, a 10, 11, a 12. The Kira Soltanovich Show.
The Kira Soltanovich Show.
No, you don't do it.
Hey, welcome to the Kira Soltanovich Show, and I am your host, Kira Soltanovich. And today we're doing a fun new thing that I've tried now several times. Call in to our comics. We're going to be calling Rain Pryor. Yes, that's right. That Rain Pryor. A funny comic in her own right. A mom. She's what is she, like a scientist also now?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Our conversation was incredible. And yes, of course, we do talk about her father, and we touch upon it though, because I didn't want to make the whole conversation about, her father being Richard Pryor. Of course, that's important. It's part of her life and it's who she is. But she is so much more than that. She's fascinating. I honestly could have talked to her for hours and hours and hours. We just talked about everything. Everything. Vaginas. Of course, that comes up a lot on the podcast. But science-y stuff, her parents, drugs, everything. And it was fascinating. And I really, truly enjoyed my conversation with Rain Pryor, and I hope you do too. I'm great. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for asking.
Oh my gosh, I've been looking forward to this forever. I actually sent you a text a while ago because Kelly Carlin was kind enough to give me your number. And when you replied, I started to almost cry inside. Like, you were so sweet. Hilarious. You were like, oh, of course, absolutely. I was like, oh my God. I was sweating. And I might have been pregnant at the time, so there were a lot of hormones going on. But I was just like, this is going to be amazing. And you're in New York, right?
Well, today I'm in Baltimore. Tomorrow I'll be in New York. Yeah, I go back and forth.
Oh, very nice. Are you working in Baltimore?
No, I'm just mothering in Baltimore.
Ah, that's where you do your mothering. So that's where you live now.
Yeah. This is where this is how I put it. This is where I am right now. It's not where I'm going to be. I'm going to be in New York City.
Got it. Okay. But right now you have...
Even Lotus wants to move to New York City.
And that's your daughter?
My daughter.
I love that name. I absolutely love that name. And how old is she?
He's 7.
7. Okay, so I have a 5-year-old boy. Please tell me...
They can date. They can date when they're older.
They can do what?
I said they can date when they're older.
They can date when they're older. I would love it. I was going to ask you, at 5, did she go through a thing where, here's what he's going through right now. It's the end of the world. Everything is the end of the world. If there's the last piece of chicken and he ate it and there's no more chicken or whatever it is, it's the end of the world. And my husband and I are looking at each other like, are you out of your mind? And we want to say that to him. We want to say,
right.
Sometimes you just want to talk to your kids like they're your peers. I've told him so many times, I go, dude, get it together. And then I look at my husband, I'm like, what am I doing? He's 5. He barely wipes his own ass. I'm asking way too much of him, but it just comes out.
Yeah, that's how it is. That's how it is.
Does it change at 7? Please tell me.
It does. What happens at 7, at least, I have a little girl, so what happens at 7 is you start to get the teeth sucking and the eyes rolling. And you have to do everything in your power not to want to knock her the fuck out. You know what I mean?
I already have the eyes rolling, but you're saying she does the with her teeth, the sucking of the teeth?
Yes.
Oh my God, she's like 15.
And she had this. Wait. Last night she barked at me.
What?
I said, "Go clean your room." She goes. And I was like, "What do you need? A bone?" I literally said that to her. I said, "What do you want? A bone?" And she looked at me. She's like, and I was like, my child's crazy. Because I believe Lotus is an 80-year-old woman stuck in a 7-year-old's body.
Well, that could actually be. I have run
really
across
believe
kids that I feel like, oh, wow, you've not only been here before, you've been here 100 times before, and you're actually bored with this whole human process.
Yeah. She is. Like, okay, so I'm thinking, here's an example, by the way, because you'll relate because you're a mom. So, well, I happen to be a single mother. So on Thanksgiving, I was invited to my ex-husband's stepmother's house for Thanksgiving. He wasn't there.
Oh.
And it was a big family gathering. And so I didn't want to go. I'm like, that's not really my family. I don't want to spend it with my ex-husband's family.
Right.
And Lotus looked at me, and we got out of the car, and she grabbed my hand. She looked me in my eye, and she says, Mommy, this is your family, too.
Oh, my God. I just started ovulating.
And I was like, how did you... I was like, right? I was like, how did you... I was like, what the heck? What the heck?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I have like little wisdom telling me to basically calm down, pull your shit together, and walk in with your head up, Mom.
You know, when little kids, when they drop like a Deepak Chopra moment on you like that, it makes you kind of look like it kind of shakes you out of normal life. And
trust me, sometimes she makes me look at the universe and go, really? Cosmic joke on me. Thank you. You know what I'm saying?
Did you always want kids? Was that like a thing for you? You're like, okay, I gotta have kids. I want to be a mom.
No, that didn't. You know what? It didn't hit me until I was in my late 30s, middle 30s. When I turned 35, all of a sudden that I heard women talk about, that clock.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of a sudden, one day it turned on. It turned on literally when some guy who I didn't end up marrying was like, he said to me, like, I think, and I hate to say it, but, you know, it's one of those hot, heated moments. And he's like, you know, I want you to have my babies. And somehow the clock, like, just went around in a circle, like a rapid circle. It was like, hello, child time. You know, like the sea parted, the birds, the doves flew.
Yeah.
I had one of,
And then when you have a kid, then your clock turns into like when you want to snooze for the other one. So when you want to have a second one, all of a sudden you're like, oh, my alarm's going off again. You're hitting snooze for months and years and years. Okay.
Well, I think I'm older than you. So lately, and I'm not in a position right now to have another child, although I do really want another child, meaning that I'm not steady with my current partner yet to be able to say I want babies. So, but the clock started again.
Oh, really? Right?
And I'm in my mid 40s. So my eggs are screaming because they're dying. And they're like, if we don't get pregnant, it ain't going to effing happen.
But, you know, in LA, that's like, all you have to go do is see an acupuncturist and do a liver cleanse. And, you know, there's some sort of, you know, doctor that can massage your inner thigh and make you very fertile. Like in Los Angeles, it's not over for you in LA. Now, other parts of the country, you know, if you're, again, in Baltimore, they're like, oh, you're a grandmother already.
In Baltimore, it's girl, if you don't have them now, you ain't having them later.
Right. I thought we were one and done for sure. I definitely thought, and you know, when you're a comic and I don't know how you feel about this, because I know you don't do just comedy, you do so much more. And are you still traveling and singing and all that? Are you still...
I am.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that feeling of like, all right, well, that's important too. After the first couple years, you know, after my first, I was like, all right, so back on the road, you know, on the road again. And then that snooze button hit and I just kept snoozing and snoozing. And now I have another one. I have a 5-month-old.
See? Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You're tired. You're just tired, aren't you?
I'm very, I'm not just tired. It's like this level of exhaustion that makes you a little bit numb. Makes you like a little bit like, I'm just gonna, like I've never done any hardcore drugs ever. ever. But I will wake up like
Neither have I.
And neither have you. But I will wake up like I am withdrawing from heroin. Like I'll just wake up in the middle of the night, I'm shaking and I'm sweating and I'm like, what's happening to me? And I'm just like scratching and it's because I just want, rest and sleep and my own thoughts in my head.
Your hormones are yelling at you going, how did you do this to us again?
Again, that's for sure.
Again.
So do you take your 7-year-old, because she's now old enough, can you take her like on the road with you? Do you take her to gigs?
I do not.
You don't?
No.
So,
I don't because I don't want her in that scene, to be honest.
Really?
The only time I take her with me is when I was doing my show in New York. I took her there because there's stuff for her to do.
The one-woman show that you did?
I don't want to take her to a night, huh?
What was the show in New York? The one about...
fried chicken and vodka.
That was it. Right.
Yeah. I don't want to take her on the road when I'm doing stand-up with a bunch of drunk guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That are depressed. I don't want her to see that.
You don't want to see her. You don't want her to see you depressed.
I don't want her to see that.
Oh,
I don't
that.
want to see drunk men depressed. Talking about I liked your show and I liked your tits. I don't want her to hear that.
Yeah, I understand. I've only taken my kids technically on the road when it's been, like San Francisco. I grew up that way. They're there and my family's there, or like if my husband's with me. But I might have to take one of them with me to Vegas in a couple months. And I'm really bummed out about that. Well, for one reason, because I can't sleep in. That means, and I can't get a vacation out of it. But I don't know. I always kind of go back and forth. My 5-year-old loves to hang out in green rooms. He is fascinated by it. I don't think it's a great place for him to hang out, but I have taken him a couple times to just comedy clubs here in LA, and he's constantly asking me when he can go hang out, specifically in the green room. I don't know what it is about that setting, but he's asked me.
You have a manager. You burst a manager. You totally burst a manager. What the heck?
I hope it's just a manager, because he's actually gone on stage. There's like a show where kids can go on stage and tell jokes, and he went on stage and it was nothing to him. He didn't think twice. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't shy. He charged up the stairs, went straight to the microphone, took it out of the stand. It frightened me. And he was like, he just turned 4 at that time.
Oh, wow. So he has it.
He might have it.
He has it.
And I'm really worried because I'm like, or he's a manager.
It's a good experience for him to be on the stage.
I don't know what it is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Well, did you grew up with 2, obviously, comedy people, and obviously your dad, the biggest name in comedy ever, but your mom also was, in the business, right?
Yes. She did stand-up comedy for a while. She was a dancer for a while. Yeah.
And she was a writer?
Yes.
And came from a comedy family?
Yeah, and now she's a scientist.
Right. Now she's a scientist. Tell me what she's doing right now, because it sounds amazing, and I'm into that kind of stuff. Like my mom writes astronomical content for Caltech and different places. She's an astronomer. I love that.
And she runs a 100-inch telescope. Yes.
Wow. Wow. Compensating for something, Mom?
No, right? That's why she's so grumpy. Yeah, and crazy.
And
that explains it all.
Was she was like a hippie mom, right? She was like kind of like a hippie Jew?
She was. And then I don't know and then she went crazy. So I don't know how that happened. Other than my mom literally is a genius. The woman's a genius. So
what kind of pressure is that for you? Your mom's a, scientific genius. Your dad, a comedy genius. It's almost like, what do you do from there? I I can't even imagine if my dad's a plumber, right? Let's say I try to install a toilet and then my dad's like, you did pretty good job. He's Russian. That's why I give him that crazy accent. You do okay. But как дела? Да, спасибо. But imagine if my dad is the best plumber in the world. I wouldn't even go near a toilet. I wouldn't even try to begin to install a shower or you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't even, I would stay away. And yet you were like, all right, I'll jump in too.
You know what? Because no one else around me did something else. Like entertainment was just that thing. My dad and my mom both said I came out a performer.
Really?
Like, they just knew that's what I was going to do. My sister went to college and has a career.
Yeah, sometimes I wish I tried harder in high school.
You know?
Maybe I would have.
And that's what's so fun. So it's in me. I don't know anything else other than the fact that I know I have that genius mark. Like just the other day, I'm not kidding you. I'm looking at patents that match, that kind of seem similar to an invention I came up with.
Really?
For nanotechnology, using electrodes in the body, blah, blah, blah. Yes. So I'm reading up on these patents to see is there a way I can go around them that won't sound similar to the 5 that were found for me.
Wait. What are you doing with nano? What? I got to Google half what you said. I have to look up what you just, what?
So I came up with this invention using nanotechnology.
Okay.
You know, some people call it micro technology, but it's nanotechnology. And so I came up with an invention using nanotechnology in the body.
Nanotechnology in the body. Are these like some sort of things that you attach, like an EKG? You would attach them to your body?
It would be attached internally along the spinal cord and into the frontal lobe.
Internally along the spinal cord, like Doc Ock.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. So I'm having to read, there are 5 patents that are similar, and I'm having to read through them and look at all the technical language, which some of it I understand, don't ask me why or how, and then some of it I don't, just to see if there's a way to still do mine and not have it be similar to what has already been patented, so I can patent.
So what would people do with this?
So the object of this is to help people who have, I would say, who have mobility problems. So if like you have lesions because the myelin was destroyed, which is part of what carries your nerve endings, is destroyed. These act as almost like artificial nerve endings.
I see. And so you can take down your nemesis, Spider-Man, also, right?
You can. I'm thinking more like, Ultron. Yeah. So
this is wild. I never knew anything about this. I've always been a fan of yours and kept track of what you've been up to ever since, I remember seeing you on Head of the Class, but I'm sure I'm not the only person that's been fascinated by you. But this is the first I've heard of this. This is kind of crazy and very cool.
Nice.
That's very cool. Well, I hope you find a loophole.
I know, right? I think I will.
And so you can do this and have time to perform and have time to be a mom and all the other stuff that you're doing.
Yes, I have found a way in my life to literally balance it all. Oh. I think I'm Superwoman, but someone forgot to teach me how to fly.
How do you look in latex, though? That's what I need to know. How do you look in a cape?
Well, I think if I lose a few more pounds, I look really hot and latex.
Girl, you don't have to tell me right now. I'm trying to lose the baby weight. I am in my pre-pregnancy pants, but unfortunately I have an MT and a CT, which is muffin top and camel toe. And I'm okay with it because I am in these jeans. I am not wearing maternity pants today, and that is a huge high five to myself. and I will just
it is.
deal with the
When you can fit in
repercussions.
your regular clothes, it's awesome.
It feels amazing. So something I ask people, parents that are in the biz, was about their childhood, and I can only imagine yours, probably very unique, obviously, and very different. Yeah. But I ask people like, okay, so are you trying to parent differently than how you were raised? For example, I came from a really loud, aggressive family, and unfortunately I am loud and aggressive with my kids. I try not to be, but there was a lot of screaming and yelling in Russian and broken English.
Right.
But I live in LA, and I'm a little crunchy, a little granola. I'm also a little bit of a hippie Jew, and I try to talk about feelings, and let's draw a picture of your feelings right now. Try to do all that stuff because I want it to be different than how I was raised. Is that your goal as well?
Yes. I'm a much better parent than my parents were, because the world doesn't, my parents had me during a time where it was like, you had children, but then it's like you always felt they stopped your career somehow, or they were going to interfere. Where it's like Lotus's whole thing is like, how can I make my career better so she doesn't suffer when she gets older?
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? And so, do we talk about feelings? Yes, and my daughter, at least with me, is totally expressive and honest and enlightened. Like I said already, she's an 80-year-old woman in a 7-year-old's body.
Yes.
She's brilliant. I encourage her to be brilliant. I encourage her to do her homework. I encourage her to be better than she is, and I constantly tell her she's great and wonderful and she's capable. And when she messes up, there are moments where mommy yells really loud, and Lotus turns to me and she goes, "You sound like a lion."
It sounds like she has like some animals in her past life with the dog and the lion. And
I know, right? That was hilarious last night. I'll never forget she barked at me.
And did you have that when you were a kid? Like, did you have that kind of encouragement? Were your feelings heard? Did people listen to you?
Not at all.
Not at all. Zero.
Not at all.
Zero.
I grew up in the whole, be seen, not heard.
Yes. And what was your childhood like? I know that's such a hard question to answer. And
it was okay. So for me, the way I grew up, it was normal.
Right, because that's all you knew.
To have a dad that was on the road, and and you see the different women and the different wives, and then I have a mom who was a total like gypsy and didn't have lots of money, but came from a upper middle class Jewish family, and so we lived like two separate worlds. I'd go to my dad's and have the maids and the butlers, and we're shopping at Fred Siegel just because we can, and I go to my mom's house, and it's like Save-A-Lot,
Oh my God. So they had like dual custody, so you were back and forth a lot.
Yes.
And you have a lot of siblings. Yeah. Did you grow up with any of them? Are you close with them still?
The older ones I am. The two older ones. I'm close with. The younger ones are way younger than me. They're still like in their late 20s now.
Really?
I'm mid-40s. So it's a different different gap.
Right.
Yeah, but the older ones, yes, I'm close to.
And did you grow up with them, or were you guys kind of in separate places?
We were definitely all in separate places, except for like certain holidays we would spend with Dad. And so then we would all be together, let's say at Christmas. We would all take trips to Hawaii, to London, to France.
Oh, wow.
And we'd get together, and then we'd go our separate ways, and we never talked. And then now we're at that place where we kind of all the three of us live on the East Coast, so we tend to talk more.
Right.
We might not together as much, but we still talk more than we did when we were younger.
And do you remember the time in your life when you were younger? I don't know, maybe it was like 5, 6, 7, or maybe younger than that, when you realized, why is everybody all up in my dad's business? Like, who is he? Like, why is everybody looking at him, taking pictures?
So look, when I was at 4, I met my dad, and it was at a big party, and there was tons of people around. So I knew he had this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I knew, but I knew he had this thing. And I thought it was normal for kids to have limousines. You know, to have like the driver, like, and two, I didn't know there were poor black people. My dad was rich.
Right.
My mom was poor. So I was like, white people are poor.
Oh my God.
Black people got it going on. And then I was
Right.
like, you know, then my dad's like breaking down reality to me, and I'm like, oh, really? I'm like, Mom, you're screwing this up because you're supposed to be on the other side of this.
And then were you allowed to see his comedy? Like, were you allowed to go to shows or watch
Yes,
movies? You
from
were?
day one. From day freaking one, man.
Really?
I think I was joking with someone. I said, I think my first words were motherfucker. Yeah.
Which I'm sure sounded adorable coming out of a small child's mouth. You know, because my 5-year-old says the word purse and it sounds like puss, and I just think, I'm like, absolutely. Let's not correct that at all. Let's keep that going
Right?
for as long
Let's
as we
keep that
can.
going.
So
My daughter is a prude.
is she?
My daughter is a prude. She will not curse, and if I do, she'll say, Mommy.
Oh wow! Does she have any idea? Does she have any idea what her lineage is?
That she does. I said, your dad cursed all the time. Like my child. I'm telling you, she's an 80-year-old woman.
But does she know about her grandfather?
She said today in the car, we were driving to school, and she said, my teacher mentioned Grandpa to the class.
Geez.
And I said, what did he say? And he said, her grandpa is a famous comedian named Richard Pryor. And she goes, but my mom is famous because she's Rain Pryor.
Oh, jeez. I mean,
how awesome is that?
Yeah, that is awesome.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
So
I thought it was adorable.
This is a random question, and I just watching Barack Obama's last State of the Union. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it.
I didn't.
You did it. I mean, it was awesome. Aaron, our engineer, by the way, is here. Aaron, you didn't watch it either? What is happening? That's the youth. That is the problem with the youth now.
I go to bed with my child. That's part of it.
Yeah. See, yeah. I have a problem. I have a sickness where 8 o'clock comes around and I have momnesia, which is I forget that I'm a mom, and I'm out at the Improv. I was at the Improv last night till 11:30, and then all of a sudden. Right. It's like Cinderella, like a clock strikes and I'm like, motherfucker! And I run to the parking lot. I lose a shoe. My car turns into a Datsun, whatever. Like I completely forget that I'm a mom. And again, last night got home way too late after 2 sets at the Improv. And then my kid gets up at 2 a.m. because she's hungry. It's just, what am I doing? But I was just thinking just because we're talking, you're half white, half black, like that I don't know about you. I cried when I voted for Barack Obama. I'm sure for someone like yourself, what was that like? What was that fucking like?
Being a black president?
Right?
Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Well, it was important. It was important because you're like, yes, we can do anything. And, okay, so in my life here, let's say I practice what some people call law of attraction and all that stuff, right?
Yes.
So for me, it was an affirmation that I can literally be anything I want to be.
Right.
And my daughter knows no different.
And
my daughter doesn't see what I saw growing up. She's like, so when you talk about history, she's like, yeah, but Mommy, we have a black president.
Right. Isn't that great, though?
It's so freaking awesome.
Is my son racist? Tell me this, because this tall black man, probably, right? This tall black man walked into his school to pick up his kid. And my son goes, Mommy, is that the president?
I don't think,
No, right? I don't think it's racist. I think he's aware that our president is a tall black man.
Right. I don't think that's racist. Now, if he said, is that guy coming in and kidnapping that kid, well, then maybe I would say that's racist.
Right. Well, he did say, is that the president, and is he about to rob us? He did say that part. I left that part out.
He's a Republican, your son. That's awesome.
No, he's learning about...
Which is funny because... Let me tell you something Lotus did, and I had to correct her. And I did, but I was highly embarrassed. My face turned bright red. You know, we were in one of those convenience stores, walking around, and in walked in a woman in full burqa, in a burqa. And Lotus said, "Mommy, it's Darth Vader."
Oh. Okay.
And I had to pause, and I pulled her to the side, and I said, "Lotus, that is a Muslim woman, and she's wearing a burqa." And I had to explain the whole thing, and then she went, "Oh," and she started to cry because she was embarrassed that she hurt the woman's feelings.
Oh, well, see, you're a better parent than I. I would have said, "No, sweetheart, that's Darth Maul. That's a different character."
You're hilarious. Because I'm a socially conscious mom.
Yes.
All right? I don't want her walking around saying inappropriate things.
I think you're right.
When she sees the guy with the high heel shoes, and my daughter says, "Why is the man wearing the shoes?" And I said, "Because he can walk in them."
You know, this is something interesting. How do you deal with this? We have this one stretch where we live. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, it has turned into like a cardboard city. A lot of homeless people, and my heart just breaks. And I bring extra food. I don't know if I'm doing this the right way or not the right way, but I will bring extra food with me when I pick up my kid. And as we drive home, I want him to see me. Yes, I want him to see me at the red light. I roll down the window and I go, "Hey, would you like some?" I'm literally doing like a reverse Mexican. I'm like, "Would you like some oranges?" Like I'm giving oranges to the homeless people. And they're like, "Oh, thank you so much." They come to the window, but I'm doing it. I'm manipulating it. I'm doing it.
No, you know what you are? You're what every Republican calls a socialist.
Well, I am. I am a fucking commie. I come from communists.
Yes, so
I'm a Russian.
You're screwed.
But I want him to see me doing it. Like I'm not doing it, like an anonymous, like, "Oh, I'm going to just anonymously donate money to charity so that nobody knows." Oh, I'm doing it like it's a tip jar and the barista had just made my coffee and I'm slowly putting my dollar in. Like, I want you to see me doing this, like a Seinfeld episode.
Right.
But I want my kid to see me giving food to people that need it. Or I actually once gave a bag of clothes and this chick looked at me like, "Are you crazy?" And I go, "Look, would you like this? It's cold outside now." I mean, I know it's LA cold, so relax. But, it drops down to almost 60. So I have like all these old sweatshirts and I go, "Would you like some old sweatshirts?" And at first she was like, "Bitch, I want some, I want a sandwich." And then she was like, "Oh, you know what? You're right. It does get cold at night." So she grabbed him. And my son and I'm doing it on purpose so that he watches and asks questions. I don't, but is that okay? Or am I being like...
I think that's perfectly okay.
Okay. Because I don't want to seem like a goody two-shoes in front of him. Like, "Oh, my mom is out trying to help people again." But I need him to see that people need help sometimes.
I think that's great that he sees, like, okay, we can do that.
And he does ask questions.
If you look at it historically, we all used to live in tribal communities. So you're doing the right thing anyway. You're doing what you were innately meant to do.
And it's too much for me to drive by them now and he asks questions. I mean, every time he asks questions. Every time.
They all ask questions. It's not going to stop.
It's not going to...
They don't shut up. They don't shut up, Kira.
I know.
Sometimes my daughter yaps and asks so many questions, I want to kick her in the vagina just so she'll be like, "Ow," and there's quiet.
Now, do you ever get into the answers too in depth? Or do you just kind of give like,
Yes.
oh, sometimes people don't have money for a house and then leave it at that? Or do you like, well, because the socioeconomic system and because they're set up to fail?
Yes.
And or like, do you get into like, you do?
No, I get it. Yeah, because, okay, so both my parents, besides being their brilliant selves, were also social activists.
Yes.
I'm a social activist. So, yeah, I end up going into the whole thing so she understands it, you know, and yeah.
Well, I try to do that, and then I watch my child's face change, and then he interrupts me and goes, "Can I get the new fire station Lego?" I'm like, okay, you just have not listened to anything I have said, like zero.
No, he really has, and he's doing to you what you should do to him, which is shut up. Like, he's done what he did to you. He's like, that's his way of shutting you up. To be like, all right, enough already. I've heard it. I get it.
Yeah.
As much as my little head can get. No, be quiet, Mom.
So now we have a girl, right? I find myself already raising my kids in a sexist way, but like the opposite way. So like when my son was little, I never said things to him like, "You have a strong voice." You know what I mean? Because I assume he's a boy. But like my 5-month-old, she's already like babbling, you know, already doing like the loud like baby talk, you know? And I'm like, that's right. You speak your mind. She's 5 and I'm wiping her ass after, you know what I mean? Like after a diaper change. But I'm just like, I find myself treating her already so differently. You know, like, I don't know how, are you raising your child? I mean, I didn't know the answer just from talking to you, just, you know, these brief moments, but like as a woman and you're a comic and all these things that you have been up against and you're, you know, biracial. I mean, there's just so much. Like, do you teach her like a little?
Her grandmothers on her dad's side are lesbians.
Yes.
So,
yes,
so
absolutely.
Right. My child is a liberal child.
So do you give her small doses or do you just lay it all out?
Huh?
Do you give her small doses or just lay it all out on the table for her?
You know what? We're all very open. Like, we answer her questions. Look, one of the what I call one of her lesbian grandmothers used to be a midwife. She runs Healthy Teen Network, which educates young people about sex and you know, and sex toys and protection and all that stuff. So my child is growing up, you know, like, it's funny. I remember one time I'm like, I used to call her vagina a JJ. She's like, it's not a JJ, Mom, it's a vagina. That's when she was 4.
You see, and I have a bit about that on stage right now where I say, let's not give our kids euphemisms for their, you know, for their business. I don't call it business, you know, like I do a bit about, like, my friend calls her 4-year-old, you know, she's like, we just call it a cookie or a Zim Zam or a slip slap or a flip flute or you know, or like, and I go, please don't call it food. No, it's just a cupcake or a Tootsie or a Tyson's chicken dinner or a, you know, I'm like, don't call it food. But she's right. Your kid is right.
She is, but guess what she calls it now?
Oh, Jesus, what,
so,
Betty?
And she changed it up on me. She's like, it's my betweenie. And I said, but it's not, it's your vagina. She goes, Mom, it's between my legs. It's a betweenie.
A betweenie. I think she just created a new product. You need to go find patents. Go find a patent on betweenies, and then you guys need to create a product like a kid product called the Between. Oh, that is genius.
Isn't that hilarious?
And she's what?
But I loved her rationale for it because it's between my legs. It's a betweenie.
Yeah, I don't know when I read. Look, I have to stop reading some of the nonsense and bullshit on the internet when it comes to like kids and abuse and all this sexual bullshit. Like, there were a couple things that happened since I became a parent that paralyzed me with fear. You know, one of them was the Sandusky thing that happened a few years back. I talked about it on this podcast before. It has scared me more than anything else in the world. And I'm talking more than ISIS, because I feel like ISIS is this thing that is happening in the world. And by the way, I think there were some new attacks today in Jakarta, if I'm not mistaken. And it's definitely real, but I feel like that Sandusky, that bullshit, that I feel like is possible. You know what I mean? Like that's in your own backyard real. And and then like all the Jared Fogle from Subway, all that nonsense, and just all this stuff that is around kids and abuse. And
so here's my thing about that, Kira.
Okay.
And this is like mother to mother, parent to parent, right?
Yep.
I have taught Lotus since she was a kid to, one, be open with her feelings, open about what happened, what happens to her, if anything, and where people should not touch her.
Mm-hmm.
If she doesn't want them to. Since she was a kid.
Yeah.
My child is the most honest. I mean, she's so honest, sometimes I think she has Asperger's. Like, she's that kind of honest, you know? And I'm just like, I'm so glad I've raised her enough to be comfortable that if someone were to try anything, my daughter would say no.
Right.
You don't do that. That's not okay. And I think as parents, we need to teach our kids that kind of confidence about who they are.
Yeah, and I
which
think
makes sense to what you're saying about don't give our vaginas and penises cute little names.
Right. Because then they tell an adult, someone touched my cookie, and it's like, all right, well, we'll just get another cookie. And you're like, oh, all right. And then, problem not solved. But, I think he was 3 at the time. He was having like stomach issues, and as parents, we can talk about poop and stuff, and nobody cares. But poor Aaron, our engineer, does not have kids, so he's going to have to just sit through this.
Sorry,
Aaron. But Aaron, you poop, right?
I do.
All right, so you're fine. You're fine with it. You can deal with this.
Everybody
poops. So we had to take him to a pediatric gastro, whatever it is, GI, yeah, pediatric GI, and she was very sweet, very nice woman. Obviously has kids and just a total sweetheart pro. And he was lying on the table, and she said, "Okay, sweetie, I'm just going to check your bottom." And then all of a sudden, her tone changed, and she said, "No one should touch your bottom unless it's mommy, daddy, or a doctor."
Right.
And I broke down crying. I could start crying right now. I feel myself already, like when she said that, I realized I've never said those words to my kid before.
Right.
And he was so little, and he's just like, "Can I have a Firehouse Lego?" Like, I'm sure his brain, not even listening. But the fact that she said that, she changed her tone, and she said, no one except for mommy, daddy, and a doctor, when mommy and daddy are present. Actually, she added that. And a doctor when mommy and daddy are present.
Right.
And I lost my shit. And I just, like that lump you feel in your throat. And I was just like, oh my God, I would kill somebody. Like, that's the only time I ever feel like.
Yes, that makes me rageful.
And
to children makes me rageful, period.
And to know that it's now so much more commonplace, but when we were kids, it was not. And especially your father, who was so public about, like, his childhood made him who he was.
Absolutely. But I think listen, the reason it doesn't seem as popular is because they didn't have the internet back then.
Right.
You know what I mean? Otherwise, it would have been all over the place. They were doing it forever. They've been doing it forever. It's part of if you go back in our history, they talk about pedophilia. It doesn't make it okay.
No.
Ever. But it's something, we're in a new society now where we talk about this stuff. We actually put it on the table and dissect it. And they're like, you know what? This was effed up.
Yeah, and
No, I'm not sending my kid to Catholic school.
Oh, my husband went to Catholic school for 12 years, and his priest was recently, like a few years back, his school, the head priest was in the news. And there was like a big payout, and kids came forward, and I was like, Michael, are you sure? Because there's a lot of money involved.
Right.
Sure nobody touched you? He's like, no. And I'm like, Michael, we have a mortgage. Are you sure? Think back. Are you repressing something? And then one of his priests at his school married one of the students.
Wow.
Yeah. Just fucked up. I mean, it is one of those things where sometimes you want to shine light on it, and then sometimes you're like, you know what? I'd rather shine light on positive things. But then I feel like I'm burying my head in the sand.
Because we live look, you and I talking about parenthood, right? And the things you're bringing up are awesome. And I wish everyone talked that way. I wish we talked that way with our partners. I wish I could sit down with a guy and have a sexual conversation that isn't about necessarily my arousal at the moment, as it is about, I want to tell you how to eat me out properly.
Okay, interesting. Like a BuzzFeed video?
Right? Like, I want to have the sexual conversation everyone's afraid to have, because then it takes the stigmatism off. It takes the mystery out of it. You know what I mean? I'm one of those that believes as soon as you put certain drugs into the community, nobody wants to use them anymore because it's not a secret.
Uh-huh.
You take the secret away, it no longer exists. If you talk about sex, nobody's going to try to sneak off and try to screw a kid.
Right. Is that...
yes, there are crazy chemical imbalances in people. I get that part. Mm-hmm. And it is a crazy chemical imbalance in people. But I think we're so repressed as people,
right, that
we create this stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
At all? I maybe sound crazy. That's okay. But I'm just saying.
Now,
talk about this shit.
Talking about drugs, you said you don't do any. You have never done any.
I've smoked pot.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Absolutely.
I smoked pot. I did cocaine once.
Really?
Once. Called my dad up, told him about it because I couldn't believe he would ever fucking touch that stuff. And my dad's comment to me was, "Are you sure you're a Pryor?"
Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
How awesome is that? Never did it again. I was like, you're an idiot for doing this stuff.
So isn't it interesting? Like my father's father was an alcoholic, died from alcoholism. My father does not drink. Like it sends you one of two ways, right? You go hardcore, like what you know, like how you were brought up.
Don't do it.
Or you just like, fuck it, I just don't.
Me.
Is that something that you feel because you saw it? You saw things firsthand?
Yeah. Yeah, and I also became a drug counselor.
Really?
Because I was like, I'm going to help people. And then I just didn't want to be around people like that at all anyway.
So do you think
I don't want this.
Do you think you need to have some of what do you think you need to have to be a comic then? Because it's like your father had everything. He had
Kira,
crazy childhood. Yes. What is it? Tell me.
Let me break something down to you, and I don't mean to hurt anybody. I don't do stand-up anymore.
Well, we are all devastated. Why not?
Because I'm not depressed enough.
See? Yes.
I'm happy.
You're happy, and that's exactly my point. I'm happy. I don't think you can do stand-up if you're feeling great.
No, I've never heard a happy stand-up.
Never.
I'm serious, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I've never heard a happy stand-up.
I was on stage last night, and I felt bad because I was kind of like joking around about, having a 5-month-old baby. And then I go, look, if I told you guys I have a new baby and I love her and everything's great and she's amazing, and I can already tell she's a good person, people would just be sitting there going, okay, and then I have to go, but fuck babies, those motherfuckers are cock blocking our lives. Everyone's like, yay! Like, that's all you
Right.
can do is, I know, it's so true. So when did you have this epiphany of like, oh, maybe I need to stop doing stand-up because I feel really great about my life?
It was last year.
Uh-huh.
And what's so funny is it happened after I went to Texas, I did shows, and the first time ever I got standing ovations for my stand-up ever.
Oh.
And I just had recorded my first ever stand-up like album, right? And I realized I'm not depressed enough, or I'm not woeful enough, or I'm not whatever enough to make people laugh about this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just isn't my world, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
Like, I'm like, okay, I'm different. I can make people laugh in different ways. I can joke about different things, but to put me on stage night after night in that atmosphere, it doesn't work for me. Like, that depresses me, and then I don't want to joke about that.
I see.
I don't want to joke about the guy after, who all the guys that walk up to you and they're like, oh, whatever, they comment on your tits, your ass, your whatever, your jokes, and they're all trying to sleep with you. And two, I'm Richard Pryor's daughter, which adds a whole nother level to it. And I'm like, I don't want it. I dated a couple of comics. I can't even date that. I'm like, I don't even want you in my life. Like, I want my girlfriends who are funny, of course, Kira, and, but it's like, I don't want to date a comic.
No, that is a terrible idea. I even told my husband, I go, it's a terrible idea for you to date a comic. And he's like, all right, well, this is when we were dating. And I was like, are you sure
normal, right?
He is. He's a normal person. I go, are you sure that you want to get into this?
But that's why it works. That's why it works.
Yeah.
Because he's normal and you're a comic.
Yeah, yeah. And I was already working and established, kind of.
I date a normal guy.
What does he do?
Not in entertainment whatsoever. He's a lawyer.
Nice. Any chance he's a patent lawyer? Because that would really come in handy right now. No.
I know, right? No.
So before we wrap up, because I don't want to take up too much of your time, and we're oh my gosh, almost.
And I have to pick Lotus up from school, so.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. So we'll wrap it up. I want you to give me one of your best. I used to ask people this more often, but I want to get back to it now. I used to ask people their best childhood memory and their best parenting memory. Just something that when you were a kid just really sticks out, and then something when you became a parent that you were like, oh, I get why people do this. I get parenting.
Right.
Like, something that really sticks out for you. I think those would be a nice way to end.
About how I grew up, you mean?
Just like a childhood memory of yours that really, like a great one that really stands out.
To be honest, and I think it's hilarious to me, what stands out for me is when I caught my dad having sex.
Nice.
And I was terrified.
How old were you?
Of what I saw. I think I was 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was 6. And I ran into my room and shut the door and hid under the covers. And my dad walked in, and he was like, "Oh, what's going on?" And I'm like, "I saw you, sir." And I'm like crying, and he goes, "Rain, that's what we call fucking." and he goes, "And one day you'll be fucking too, and you'll like it."
Oh my god! Oh my god! That is insane. Who was he fucking? Was he fucking your mom or someone else? Who knows?
No, God knows who. I don't even remember her race. That's how traumatized.
And he was okay using that language with you when you were 6?
Always.
And always, I'm sure you probably have a special relationship with the N-word as well.
Yes. Which is I don't say it.
You don't say it. Wow. Well, that is a great memory. I never did that until I was probably like 19 or 20. I walked in on my parents, and that's a whole different horror. But yeah, I can imagine. Well, I mean, hey, he was right.
He was.
One day you were fucking and you liked it.
Yeah.
So And what's like? Give me like a great parenting memory. Please don't tell me it's when your daughter walked in on you fucking. Please, I won't be able to. I won't be able to handle it.
She's never ever seen that. She's never even seen that.
No. I mean masturbating. Yes. But...
No, I will tell you though. I will tell you this.
What?
This is a great parenting story. When my daughter found my vibrator and asked me, Mommy, how do you turn on the purple microphone? Isn't that beautiful?
And what did you say?
Like, it's not a microphone. I'm like, it's not a microphone. And she's like, then what is it? And I'm like, one day when you're older, I'll tell you.
Oh,
it's for grown-ups.
Oh, my gosh. Oh.
Yeah.
See, that's, wow. See, you need to lock up guns and you need to lock up dildos. That's what I feel. I feel like you need to put the guns in a safe.
Really do. Yeah.
Well, I cannot thank you enough, Rain, for coming on the podcast.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
You're such a delight. I just, spasiba vam. How do you know Russian, by the way?
My grandparents were Russian.
Shut the front door.
Yeah, they were Russian Jews.
Like they born in Russia and they immigrated?
My great-grandparents, Gus and Charlotte, immigrated from Russia.
And so your grandparents spoke to you in Russian?
My great-grandparents did.
Your great
And the older ones, like Bunny and Herb, spoke to me some like in Yiddish, and sometimes they didn't really speak Russian, but Gus and Charlotte would speak Russian to me. And then I dated a Russian Jew for a long time.
Why would you do that? Why?
I don't know. My roots, I don't know.
So you know a little bit по-русски. Very nice. Well,
very, very little, yeah.
I'm just so honored, and it was just so great to chat with you. Great parenting advice. Where can people find you? Like, are you touring?
RainPryor.com, on Twitter, on Facebook.
Fantastic. And I know you're not doing stand-up anymore, but are you recording any songs? Are you
I'm performing.
Yeah.
I'm performing in February 25th in New York, my award-winning solo show. I have my jazz blues show that's starting to tour called Divorced, Dangerous, and Divalicious.
Love it.
Which I do stand-up in, by the way, but I don't call it, I don't have to, it's singing and stand-up, but together. It's not just straight, So I guess I still do it, but I don't do it, the way that we do it.
Right. And
I can.
Are you doing like your jazzy blues? Like what style are you? Yeah.
It's so jazz blues music with comedy in between.
Oh, that's so great. That's so awesome. Yeah. Tell people what it's called again. Say the name again.
Divorced, Dangerous, and Divalicious.
Got it. Okay. Beautiful. Well,
I
hope people absolutely. Thank you so much, and I hope one day we can connect in person, maybe out here in LA at another Kelly Carlin party, or maybe I'll see you out in New York very soon. Spasiba, do svidania, and we'll talk soon. Bye.
Okay.
Bye. All right, so that was Rain, and I think she's going to still continue to do her show in New York City, a show called That Daughter's Crazy. Let's see, February 6th and 7th. It's the Atlanta Jewish Film Festival. All right, well, that sounds great. Go check her out if you're around. But of course, like she said, she's maybe not doing stand-up anymore, but still look for her performing. She's an incredible singer as well. If you've never seen her sing, just Google some YouTube videos. She's really great and so spiritual. I love that about her. I feel like I have a friendly that's not the word. Kindred spirit. Thank you. In crunchiness with her, and follow her on the Twitter, and follow us here at the studio. All Things Comedy is our Twitter handle here, and I am at Kira Comedy, and of course the show is at Kira Soltanovich. And I don't think I've asked this of you guys in a while, but can you go to the iTunes And can you go and leave us a review? That would be swell. I keep forgetting to mention that. But if you leave a review and give us some stars and some high fives and some accolades, that would be so appreciated. I know that kind of helps the podcast out, right? It kind of shoves us into like the top 5,000. Mm-hmm. Good. That's a good place to be. Let's see. Where am I going to be? I'm in Omaha, but that's Omaha, Nebraska, January 28th. That's like a gig for like the Warren Buffett people. Did I tell you about that?
No.
Yeah, I don't know if you can like get tickets to that or what, but it's a ladies' night out event. Warren Buffett's putting it on in Omaha. If you're around, Thursday, the 28th of January, and then I'm around for a little while. I'm in town doing some stuff. I'll be able to give you guys more details very soon. Hopefully very exciting news to share with you soon. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you later. Bye.